too, because this is like entertainment, as it were, and some profound thoughts. And
Non-biographies.
That's an autobiography though, because you can see it's written by Anthony Kiedis about Anthony Kiedis.
in the room and stuff like that, there's a lot of things more explained about her. And all right, everybody, welcome to another episode of Bridging the Gap with Bill, Shy, Scooby, and Mac. And tonight's episode is books, or our books. I need to be correct if I'm going to talk about books and get my English right there. But yeah, we're as you see, everybody's got a stack except me. I only got a couple of books. Oh man, they're making me look bad. But yes, we're going to discuss our favorite books, books in general, blah blah blah. We're going to talk about books. But before then,
make sure y'all get tuned in and tapped into all the social medias out there. I'm at Scooby the Kid 252, at Chef Mac 1523, at OsoShy11, at Bill_Perry, and at Bridge the Gap 77. We got some great things coming, and maybe you can read a little bit on our post.
Before we get too deep, how are we all doing this week?
Oh, I'm doing fine. Feeling pretty good. It seems like I'm going to be making some music soon, so I'm glad to get back into that avenue. And just released another poster, so OsoShy.com.
There it goes. Yes, everybody be going crazy over Shy's posters, so y'all better get in on
they
it.
actually buy them.
Yeah, and actually buy them. Yes, please. Shy, you just hit your bro with a surprise. New music on the horizon. That beat I let you hear the other day? Mm-hmm. Think about putting Shy's voice on that.
Oh,
yeah, she don't even know what we're talking about, but anyway. All right. Well, Shy didn't. I'm sorry. I'm taking your moment.
No, that's it.
All right. Well, me, I'm feeling good. I don't want to stretch this too long and everything. Definitely feeling better than last week. In terms of just the climate. Everything is starting to feel like there's promise and hope in the future. Been seeing the president-elect's plans about what he'd like to do, and if he can implement a lot of that stuff, it's going to be great. And so on and so forth. So, on a national level, I'm feeling good about the energy that seems to be kind of shifting around. Mm-hmm. On a personal level, I'm feeling good, but I got to start treating my body better. Let's just say that I'm kind of like falling apart
but
inside.
We all do.
Yeah, man.
I can always do more.
I'm putting on a mask now, but I'm not all. I'm about 80%. I'm not 100. I'm lacking about a good 20% here.
So I guess we can say you're a little closer to Nerdville right now.
yeah. I'm a little bit more there and everything. So yeah, I'll just leave it there. But I feel good, everyone. I'm not trying to, don't pity me or nothing. I'm good.
I'm feeling great. Working on new music, really just kind of fine-tuning, diving into everything, and really enjoying taking my time for the first time since fucking ever. I feel like I was always rushed as a kid, but I've been taking my time and it feels nice. So
good.
Pretty much the same here. Been having a great week. I'm in my second week of culinary school, so I'm enjoying that. I got to do my assignment tomorrow, and I'm living by my motto of enjoying the little things, and I'm so excited for some reason. I just bought a desk calendar so I can be organized.
What they got you cooking, man? Like, what's your assignment?
Last week it was a carrot vici and carrot puree, which was a little hard because I don't have a blender to puree anything.
I got one. You should ask.
Well, you should have told me.
Well, fucking.
Well, look, I guess I'll be the ignorant one here. Puree like?
So it's basically like a smoothie of carrot.
A carrot smoothie. Oh, okay. Wow. And then the other was a
carrot vici. It's essentially like if you've ever had
sounds Italian,
like honey roasted carrot, not honey roasted, honey like sweet carrots like with brown sugar and honey.
Well, I think that sounds.
It sounds like
it sounds familiar. Yeah.
That's essentially what it is.
It sounds like yams.
Yeah. It's crazy the names that they come up with for like, you know what I'm saying? You go and you you just want to get some mac and cheese, but they got like 3-layer cheese noodles.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like just say mac and cheese.
They complicated. Right. You're right, Scoob. I agree.
Lobster and cheese.
I get lost in food aisles today.
This week I'm cooking. It's called Palm's Puree. It's mashed potatoes. That's all it is.
But the puree, it makes you maybe want to spend an extra nickel or two.
I'm about to say that's extra $50.
Oh, this is special. I mean, puree, come on.
Upper class.
Upper class. You know what I'm saying? It's not déclassé. You know what I'm saying? No doubt. All right, anybody else want to add anything before we get started here?
Just speaking on the climate of everything, being it as we are talking about books, it's not necessarily about reading books per se. It's about getting information and information that is the truth. So if you're out there and you're confused, do your research, read. I promise you it'll ease the mind and make you feel a little bit better once you understand everything in the scope of things that are going on.
One thing I want to say to kind of jump off his to kind of clarify a little bit more is don't just read one thing and be like, that's right.
Exactly.
Read multiple things. Read, if you have two books that are of the same topic, buy both and read them both, because you'll learn new stuff about that this book didn't cover, but this book did, and vice versa.
Yeah, I agree. I like the way you guys presented that. You know, it's funny when people talk about, like, you know, all the information that the internet has, right? And it can, you know, easily get lost in disinformation. But, you know, it's about discerning what is true as well as what is real and fact and all these kinds of things. You know, 2 + 2 is 4 is a different type of fact than is it Samuel Clemens or Mark Twain that wrote Huckleberry Finn?
Right, yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Mark Twain, yeah.
Okay, that's a literary fact, as it were. It's just as sound as 2 + 2 is 4, but 2 + 2 is 4 can be more amplified in a lot of other situations.
Right.
I don't know if that's the good. I'm trying to do a
6
non-equivalent.
- 2 is 4.
You know, or other variants of how to get 4, you know what I'm saying? And so what I'm getting at is, like, back in the day with us, Shy, particularly, you walk into a library, there's as much fiction stuff in there, talking
That's what I
about,
got
you know,
here.
dragons and this and that, whatever, you know, a fictional world of things, you know, and pseudo facts, as it were, or pseudo sciences. All that stuff is in the library, juxtaposition between truths,
Right.
real factual stuff that has been, like, verified and validated and so on and so forth. They are
But sometimes
unequivocal
it could
facts.
be the truth of the author. That's why it's good to explore multiple versions of that truth.
As he was just pointing out, it's
Yeah.
just like, well, okay, Nietzsche spoke a certain truth, but, you know, what did Descartes have to think about this? You know,
So-
what did Socrates and so on? If
One
we
of
go down to philosopher or
my-
whatever.
Well, go ahead and say what you're going to say.
It's like if you were to read Mein Kampf by Hitler, you should probably go read the Diary of Anne Frank as well and get both perspectives. Type shit. Is that kind of what you were saying or no?
Don't read Mein Kampf. But no, I get what you're saying.
Saying, yeah.
That's a
Both
well,
angles.
but you know, okay. But with that, let's just say this: that would not help you understand the dichotomy there, because one is speaking of an experience that was caused by an oppressive regime.
Okay.
The other is
It's like a
imposing an
manifesto,
ideology
yeah,
and a
got you.
manifesto that's trying to get you to see a certain perspective to sway you. Like Anne Frank wasn't
Right.
trying to necessarily say, I'm writing this to show you that the Nazis are evil.
Right.
This is like, no, they're evil, and
experience.
here's the example.
Actually,
You know
what she
what I'm
was writing,
saying?
it was her diary.
It was her diary, just
Yeah, it was
speaking
the diary of
truths
a
to what was
child.
going on. And that's a different type of truth than a mathematical or scientific truth. It's a truth of life, as it were, of experience. Things are empirical in terms of if you treat someone bad, that if that's the first impression you made that you were, you know, that you made on the person, they remember that impression, and you may not necessarily be a bad person, but if you had a bad encounter with that person, then that proceeds later on where, you know, they're a little leery of you in the future and stuff. And that's to be said about with books when people are reading things out here. Yes, you should look at different things. Even the scientific world, you should look at different all the different research that's been done on a particular topic. Like if someone said they discovered something that's out there, see if it's been validated in a lot of other reputable circles. You know what I'm saying?
Hold on. If something's true, then it's true majority of the time, probably all of the time. So, like, don't be afraid to test the truth, to, like, test your gumption to see if this is what you really think. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's a powerful. Don't just read things that are saying exactly how you already feel. Test yourself, because if it's true, it's true, and it's gonna withstand the bullshit. You know what I'm saying?
So something I wanted to say, we were kind of talking about it. When I was in college, one of my professors always said, is my American literature professor. He said history isn't written in a vacuum, meaning books aren't written in a vacuum.
Books aren't. Yeah.
Meaning that, like William Faulkner, perfect example for Oxford, Mississippi. Jefferson, Mississippi is very much based off Oxford, Mississippi and the things that were happening right after the Civil War.
True.
That means that he is taking what he is seeing in books, even though it's fiction, and writing bits and pieces of truth into that.
And even created a fictional place that, Yoknapatawpha is Lafayette County, essentially.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying?
And Yakna River, so you see kind of where he might have got it from.
I mean, even has kind of a Native American bounce to it, Yoknapatawpha.
Right,
You know
it's
what I'm
gotta be.
saying? And I mean, all the places in Mississippi are named after Native American names. Pontotoc, you know what I'm saying? Well, Lafayette is French, and Oxford is English. But yeah, other places, Tula,
Right.
that's a Native American name. I'm surprised I'm botching it right
Chickasaw.
now, but yeah, Chickasaw and so on. There's a lot of places with those.
Yeah,
Yeah,
there's a lot,
Choctaw,
right.
you know what I'm saying? And all these places throughout Mississippi, they kept the Native American names. And like on the Natchez Trace, they have like a whole line of them all set with their own, places where you can, I guess, discover more about them. But yeah, in light of books, man, actually, I wanted to find something here, like, one of the things I wanted to kind of get on is, we kind of started off with the serious tones of information
Right.
that books have to offer and being able to discern that. But there's books out there to enjoy.
Right.
That ain't all about the heady
I
and
love
is it true or
fiction.
not? This
Yeah.
is a book of poems by Langston Hughes, selected poems by Langston Hughes. Yeah, I'm a sap like that. I like to read poems sometimes. And then I got my philosophical book here, Thich Nhat Hanh. Now see, yeah, just when you was like, oh yeah, he just read all that soft stuff, man. He probably naive. Dun dun dun. Oh yeah, the boy get deep.
The Heart of Buddha's Teaching.
Yes, The Heart of the Buddha's Teachings by Thich Nhat Hanh, who I think even Martin Luther King had nominated him for a Nobel Peace Prize. This guy was that heavy. He was well known throughout the activist community and people of that nature and stuff throughout the 60s and even 50s. He was older than Martin Luther King, I think. But at any rate, but yeah, I got hip to him a few years back. I like reading his stuff. Now, the reason why I jumped between the two, because this is like, entertainment, as it were, and some, profound thoughts. And this is about like mental health, and I kind of like reading things like that. But, when it came to fiction, I read Thomas Harris. He's the guy that created Hannibal Lecter and the whole Silence of the Lambs series. I read his books. So I think that's the last fiction stuff I read, because since then I read like Communion, which is based off Whitley Strieber's life, if you're familiar with that story, and like I say, stuff like this. So I'm a really
So
heady
kind of
reader.
while we're you're talking about it, I guess let's all go through and kind of show the books that we brought. We can start with you, Shy.
Okay, Kindred. Oh gosh, Octavia E. Butler, one of my favorite books. She's one of the first science fiction female black writers,
Awesome.
and of course she's had a lot of wonderful books, but this one is exceptional to me, and it was a page turner. And this one is probably the last book I read. It's about a year ago. The Plague Tales. I wonder why. She read this almost. This one was really good, and of course, for some reason, I wasn't scared enough, knowing there was a virus going around. I had to scare myself more.
Ladies and gentlemen, there's a plague throughout our world. What's appropriate reading? Plague Tales.
And this book doesn't just talk about a plague; it talks about two plagues
Oh.
in different times.
Oh, okay.
One is
okay.
in the year 2000, the other is in the year 1300 about the bubonic plague. But they're related.
Yeah, like some
well-
sort of common strand or
Yeah,
something.
yeah.
Yeah.
When did that book come out?
It's a good point. Let me see. When was it copyrighted? 97.
97. Okay.
Yeah. Ann Benson. And this one, Oprah's Book Club. Oh. So
Fire.
this is certified.
She tapped in for real.
Nah, it's
Yeah,
like-
this is certified. Cane River by Latita Tatame. Tatame, I'm not sure how you pronounce her name. But this one was really good. And this one was really about, how should I say it? The whitening of a black family.
That's why.
Whitewash.
Yeah, well, not necessarily how you would think.
Yeah, yeah.
Back in slavery, there was a young girl that was raped by a white guy. And from that point on, white guys kept entering into their lives. And as they had kids, the kids were lighter and lighter. And the moms, with each generation, made sure that the kids, they were usually girls, made sure that they had a lot of kids, but the ones they focused on in the book were women. Made sure that they stayed out of the sun, did everything they could to keep their skin as white as possible, and actually is based on some people. This really happened to.
I'm about to say that sounds like a really familiar story I've heard in
Yeah,
history
there's some
classes.
pictures in here. Yeah, there's some pictures in here. I know you guys can't see, but
Off of like what you said, and then like when you started describing it, I was just like, oh shit, they really going there in that book. Like,
yeah, and it got to the point where you really couldn't tell if you were speaking to a white person or black. But some people, you know, they completely. This is one of the slave owners that was with, or maybe a guy in later years that was with. He's with his white family in this one. But yeah, so there were some people in the family that actually embraced their black side, and you know, they lived their life as a person of color. And then there were some people that chose to forget.
I'm assuming.
Look at her. She's.
Yeah,
I know you guys probably can't see. Yeah. I think she was the third generation. This book is very interesting.
And it's like basically for protection. Was like the families kind of making them do that, or was it like the slave owners? How was the?
Well, it was for their own protection because they were living somewhat of a better life.
Okay.
So there were some of the guys that actually cared for their children, and they tried to educate them and do certain things. Not all of them, but so you know, they had this sense of hierarchy about themselves.
Gotcha.
That they, you know, some of them, you know, looked down upon others that wasn't quite. So they made sure that they stayed with, you know, lighter skinned people and all of that kind of stuff. So yeah, there's a lot that psychologically that goes into it, but it all started with this 13-year-old girl that was darker than me.
You know,
and her skin, that's how they describe it in here. The family line was bleached.
it makes me wonder, just like, you know, how many people today, you know, like have had that happen to them and maybe don't even know it.
Well, I don't know if you've ever seen. Well, it's kind of the opposite, which I'll throw up on screen. Thomas Jefferson's grandson, which a very white person, is our grandson.
What's her name?
Jackie, I think.
But no, the woman that Thomas Jefferson hooked up with, everybody.
Oh, Sally.
Yeah.
Sally Hemings.
Sally Hemings, right.
There it is. I saw it the other day. But that guy right there is Thomas Jefferson's living relative, I believe. Right here.
Oh, wow. Okay.
That reminds me of that Key and Peele skit.
That's funny as fuck.
When they go to that,
Yeah.
what was it, that, you know, that Ancestry.com. Thomas motherfucking Jefferson. Everybody was like, can the Thomas
that's
Jefferson
right,
and
that's
shit.
right, that's
It's like, that man, goddamn.
Yeah.
Talking about the fucking diluted time, you know, convoluted rather, not, you know.
Right.
It's like everybody's race, it was like all kind of different people and stuff, you know. It was like in this one, like, family tree. You know, it's like, whoa.
That's funny.
But okay, so what's the next book?
Okay, and the last one is Wicked. And this is about the Wicked Witch of the West, you know, Dorothy and the Wizard of Oz, but it's focused on you know, the Green Witch.
She's scary.
Yeah, but when you really read her story, and this was a Broadway play that was a hit for about maybe 10 years. When I lived in New York, this play was there, and I should have went. But yeah, it's based on the Green Witch. And she's not actually wicked at all. She really got a bad rap. She was a good person, but because of the way she looked, and they had their own version.
Oh, come
of-
on, let's keep it real, man. She tried to kill that girl. What's the one she
Well,
tried to hurt?
by then,
Is it
Dorothy.
Cinderella? Or, no, Dorothy. What?
Dorothy.
Is
yeah.
it Dorothy?
Yeah.
Oh, god damn. I'm confusing all
You
these
behind me
goddamn
like-
stories. I was like, Cinderella?
Yeah, but by then it's like she had all this. When
This
she
is like a
started off-
prequel.
Yeah, this is the prequel when she started off
So she
as a young person.
So it's
I've
like, this
seen
is
that
why
one.
I end up doing in Dorothy, y'all. I'm going to give y'all some background, but yeah, I become Libra lady.
Yeah, and actually Dorothy was kind of a bitch.
Oh,
No, I'm sorry.
see?
No, I'm sorry. This is not Dorothy. This is the Good Witch.
Witch,
yeah.
what am I talking
That was
about?
her sister. So, you know, right? That was her sister.
Oh gosh, you know,
If I
it's been
remember right. That
years
was
since
her sister and shit.
Thinking back on the movie, she kind of was an uppity little bitch. Like in the movie, the
Witch of the
the
North,
West.
the good Witch of the
Yeah.
North or whatever.
She had all them little minions running around. And
No,
shit.
that's the evil one, man.
That's the evil.
That was the evil one, right?
No, the
that had the
lollipop
flying
killed.
monkeys.
The lollipop killed. The lollipop.
God damn, I don't even know what story I'm in now. I think I'm in the Wizard of Oz now.
That's the one.
That's what we're
is.
talking about.
The
Wizard
Wizard
of
of
Oz.
Oz.
Oh, okay, then maybe I thought I was a Cinderella.
Yeah, see, before.
Who has flying monkeys? Flying
Wizard of
monkeys.
Oz, yeah.
Okay, that's
She's the
Wizard
green
of
one.
Oz.
She does,
But
yeah.
does she sends them?
Yeah.
She sends them.
So this
because
is-
she becomes wicked later.
She becomes
Yeah.
wicked later.
Because of all of the.
Well, the green skin. I mean, what happens
They
there?
were like racist against her. It's like it was her way of fighting back.
That's very subtle.
medieval racism. Okay.
So
Hey,
Green people.
Doused green.
Oh, I had to say this real quick. Of course, you know she couldn't touch water. So guess how she used to bathe? Oils.
ooh,
Different.
essential
Yeah.
oils, damn.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
Oils.
that's not really removing. That's actually keeping.
Actually,
it down.
oil can get a lot of dirt off.
Oh, can it like
yeah.
ooze off of you like molasses?
They got this like gooey shit that like when you work on cars, you put on your hands and like you know if you worked on,
it cleans everything. It's
Oh
so
wait, I think I
crazy.
know what you guys are talking about.
it's like you expect your hands to just fall off because it cleans them so good. It's crazy.
So
Well,
go
that's
ahead.
Shaw's collection. I already
Yeah,
kind
I
of said
thought
mine,
so
so
much
Scooby, let's
more.
go ahead and jump to yours.
I do want to say things. From what I know of him, he's never actually read this book.
I audiobooked it.
I know you audiobooked it. I listened to it in the car with you.
Oh wait, as you guys are doing that, hold on, let me see if I can find something real quick.
So explain your book.
I'm gonna read a real short poem by Langston Hughes. Final curve. When you turn the corner and you run into yourself, then you know that you have turned all the corners that are left.
Ooh,
Deep.
that's death. Like that's what I imagine maybe. But leave it up to interpretation.
Anyway, all right. Actually, I was not expecting that to be that profound. I got to the last sentence, I was like, oh shit.
See, you're saying it's deep and he's saying it's profound. Which one of you is right?
That's for another discussion.
So my first one, I actually let some people borrow them and they never gave it back to me. But this right here is the Four Agreements. It's a Tolic wisdom collection, and it's about this group of people that like they had this like way of being. They were called the Tolics, but they realized that the people that were in power, like if they got that information, they would fuck shit up. So they hid it and they went underground. And then this guy right here, Don Miguel Ruiz, is the one bringing back the knowledge. And this came in a pivotal time in my life. I was like, I didn't know what I was about to do. I was about to graduate high school. I was rapping. I went over to my homie's house, and he's a rapper, QUA in Quan. And his homie Street was sitting in the middle of the living room in a recliner reading books. No TV. You know what I'm saying? And it just struck me like, what the, you know? Like,
That's different.
yeah, what's this guy got going on? So I you know me, I'm like, what you doing, bro? Like, what book you
Right,
reading?
right.
That's what he was reading. And he let me borrow it, right? So I take it home and I read it in like a day and a half, and it fucking changed my whole life. My whole life. Because it's basically what it's about is how all of us sitting at this table have agreements that we made with ourselves in our mind, whether that be something that we thought or something our parents told us or a relative or whoever. We made an agreement with ourselves that this is true, and this book is about breaking those agreements that aren't truths. There's very few things that are true, very few, and like the first one is be impeccable with your word, right? Everything you say, mean it. And like with that one, 75% of your life will change if you just are
Yeah.
impeccable with your word, right?
Yeah.
Number two, don't make assumptions. Because if I assume you're gonna do something and then I get in my feelings because of it, that was on me.
You make an ass out of you and me.
Right. And that one was a really hard one to get to master, is to not assume people are gonna do it.
You know, you make a point about the thing about like, you know, the way people behave, and like you say, we've kind of made an agreement on what we're going to present to the world. And then there's a real truth that we all know within our minds about who we really are. And to some degrees, you reveal a lot of those truths to those that are your loved ones and the ones you feel the most comfortable with. Like Shy, over the years, us growing up and like the goofy way that I be, in a lot of ways, there's certain places that I go that only I know you would understand. And so I don't do that a lot in public. You remember how, actually I've calmed down over the years. You remember how weird I used to get? I used to just do some weird shit. I know I was doing weird shit. But my sister always got it.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Because we were fucking siblings.
Exactly.
But certain things that I did with her, I didn't feel comfortable enough to let my guard down with everyone like that.
Right.
So I created a mask that I made an agreement with myself that I would show people.
Because you might have done something silly and someone told you stop that.
Or I just knew that the things I was, and I mean, some of the things I did, I would have pointed the finger at someone doing some shit like that, like, hey, Bill, that was weird as fuck, man. Come on, like, you know what I mean? Like, so I get it. I really get it. I'm a weird motherfucker.
And so the third agreement, is don't take anything personal. And I'm gonna say this to go to your point. There was a story about a mother who got home from work and she had a really bad migraine, and she was just like tired, and her daughter was singing, and where's your daughter? Shut up! You got an ugly voice. Now she made an agreement with herself that you got an ugly voice, and that's why you think.
And heard it for such a powerful place.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that goes into don't take anything personal. No matter what they do, the example they use in the book, if I walk up to somebody and blow their heads off, it wasn't personal. I was upset. You don't do those kind of things, like, personally. You know what I'm saying? Like.
No, I get. I mean, well, that's
a very odd.
But anyway, Scoob, you got more books to go, baby. Let's see what you talking about with this other stuff too.
It's the last part, the fourth one. Always do your best. You know what I'm saying? This was just like, this is probably the only book I've read 5-6 times. I
thought that was a marijuana leaf.
Um,
That's why I got grabbed out of his hand. I was like, wait, what's this herbal? But I'm show you what's on my mind.
and this is the kind of books I like to read. I don't really read much besides biopics, or what are they called?
Biographies?
Biographies.
That's an autobiography, though, because you can see it's written by Anthony Kiedis about Anthony Kiedis.
And this. Go ahead.
This seems to be like
Yeah.
This seems to be a self-help kind of a thing right here. The 4 agreements.
It was, and that's the kind of things I like to digest. You'll see as I keep going forward. But again, with the Anthony Kiedis book, very relatable. I like reading stories about like musicians and things of people that are like me that I can relate to. And this one right here, I highly suggest you go read it because this was a crazy motherfucker. Like, crazy. Like,
or as he did, audiobook it. Because as you can see, that's a very thick book.
Yeah, it's about too long for me.
Well, there are some.
Surprised you didn't bring Miles Davis.
I was thinking about bringing that book, but good call, Shot.
This is another one. I'm still like in the process of reading this. This is more like a textbook, How to Win Friends and Influence People, Dale Carnegie. Fantastic book if you're looking to just better your social skills, get better at talking to people, understanding people. And it was written during the Great Depression. And it's got a lot of great stories in there. And the last book that I got is probably my second favorite to the 4 Agreements. It's a book about Tupac Shakur. It's just got a bunch of pictures, real handwritten notes from Pac when he was in jail, when he was young. Like, you get to hear, like, his perspective of what he was going through. Like, you see his contract with Death Row, like how he wrote it when he was in jail. You know what I'm saying? Me Against the World. Like, it shows, like, yo, he was thinking just like I was. It wasn't whimsical. You know what I'm saying? So I really love this book. If you're a Tupac fan, I highly suggest getting it. And shout out my mom for getting me this book.
Word.
I want to point something out, which is kind of surprising to me because he has, I just looked it up, 9 books. There's no Gary Vee books in here.
I've actually read both of the Gary Vee books. They're
There's
good.
9 of them.
Gary Vee.
I've read 2 of them, Crush It and Crushing It.
That was like Scooby, like in the early days. Scooby would always like be making these points, and he'd be like, "Yeah, man, it's like when I heard the other day about Gary Vee." And in the beginning, it was just like, "Oh, it was cool," but after a while, me and Mac would just look at each other like, "Man, here we go again."
Yeah, he's funny. Hey, Bill, what was that book? I was talking to my grandfather today, and I lost it. But you said your dad had told you to read it.
The Napoleon Hill thing?
Napoleon Hill.
Oh, yeah, Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill.
Oh, yeah, I got this
Highly
on my book
suggested.
phone.
Highly suggested reading. This is a guy who actually, the very famous speech that FDR, the Nothing to Fear But Fear Itself, he wrote that speech. And he spent 25 years of his life gathering stories from all the old, rich guys from back in the day, you know, your old, I guess we call Robert Barons or whatever, you know, your Carnegies and Rockefellers and the like. But I think it was with Andrew Carnegie that he spent the time with to attain the secrets and listening to tales of people like Henry Ford and, you know,
And
numerous
it took him,
others.
Like 25 years.
Yeah, it took him 25 years to assess these stories, but, you know, it gave us a different type of perspective on the inside of the thinking of people of that kind of success. Because, you know, we're talking about, you know, super successful people. But anyway, yeah.
It's funny about that book. Like, if you read the first part of it, it's like, you know, some might have got what this book is about by the title, and some people might have to read each chapter, but it all says the same thing. You know what I'm saying?
And some people, I think, would misconstrue it, think and grow rich, and not really understanding right from the surface. Think it's a get-rich-quick scheme book.
Yeah.
You know, here, if you do the pyramid scheme, and it is nothing. Matter of fact, it's more philosophical. You actually learn something about human behavior and yourself if you're willing to take the journey in these words. I mean, you know, Pop introduced it to us when we were young. It was a profound book that changed his life when he was young, that somebody threw in his lap. And, you know, and come to find out as time went along, as I started, like, you know, with just mention that name in passing to people. Because, you know, Napoleon Hill, for the most part, is not someone's name that's mentioned in casual conversation. You have to really kind of know your shit a little, you know.
Definitely.
It's kind of like hearing Noam Chomsky's name or something like that. But, you know, he's like standard reading in the business world. Like, people read Napoleon Hill's principles to, like, set up their business portfolios and plans and whatever, you know. But all right.
That's all on my books. Yeah, audiobooks, like the Gucci Mane book. I've read a lot of audiobooks, but
Listen.
yeah, or read, listen, whatever. Fuck it, man. It's the same shit.
That did sound like an oxymoron. I didn't even consider that. I listened to it. How did you word it?
He said, I read a lot of audiobooks.
I read a lot of audiobooks. I didn't even think about how that sounded until right now.
Yo, man, and fuck English, bro. Fuck the whole English.
English. It's like text messaging, man. Lately, my phone has been messing up where I accidentally spelled the word "and" wrong. ABS or something. Now it always puts that in place of "and." I have to always go back and replace it with the word "and."
Yeah, how do you take that
Dumbass phone. I'm gonna have to figure that out. But at any rate, Mac, it's your turn.
So, if anything,
Stupid ass phone.
but the last sketch we did with the parallel universes when he kind of played me, is I realized that I quote a lot of books and movies and TV shows, and it kind of made me think, I've read a lot of books because I'm an insomniac. When I can't sleep, I either watch TV, play video games, or read. And these are some of the books that, at least recently, that have just kind of helped me sleep. And I've learned a lot of things. This one is it's a series of essays by one of my favorite artists. His name is George Watsky, and it's just a bunch of funny stories about, like, kind of in a way, like, I am just like you. Like, he tells a story about how he smuggled ivory over the Canadian border.
Oh, wow.
And to me, that's just kind of funny. This book, it's called A Filmmaking Mindset. I got it for Christmas, and I've read it a few times.
Shout out my mom.
Yeah, shout out my mom. Happy birthday, by the way. It's her birthday.
Happy birthday to you.
It's not quite what I was thinking it was. It's basically how to make a movie on $30,000, and I'm like, well, I'm not doing that right now.
Oh, man.
And these three I read during the pandemic. They're a series of books. It's called Steal Like an Artist, Show Your Work, and Keep Going.
I remember those three through the summer of last year.
And it's all about how to stay creative and, you know, build your own kind of work, in a sense.
If you look back at past shows, if I'm not mistaken, you quoted a couple of things from
I
those
have
books.
quoted these books. And then these two, I'm not very good, or I wasn't until I read these books, very good at picking up on cues of people. So I've got these two books, and it just helped me pick up, like, oh, they're really not feeling this conversation. Maybe I should shut up. And they kind of helped me through that. But
That's good. That's good.
like he said, audiobooks, I just listened to 3, which I probably got the wrong message from these 3 because they're really just a bunch of stories about this guy who does stupid stuff. It's a series of 3. It's called I Hope They Serve Beer in Hell, Hilarity Ensues, and Assholes Finish First.
This motherfucker right here, bro.
His name is Tucker Max.
He's legendary, right? Like, just, I'm talking about the ultimate machismo guy, gets all the girls, right? But, like, he drinks a lot, and he has these crazy things happen to him. Like, one time he was in, like, a really nice hotel, and he got the runs because you tell it, because you probably just read it.
So, basically, he went out partying all night, and him and his buddy came back to the hotel, and they both had to take a shit. And his buddy runs into the hotel toilet before he does.
Yeah.
So he's just waiting, and the buddy walks out about 5 minutes later, clogs the hotel toilet in the room. So this guy, he runs down to the lobby and brings.
It wasn't his buddy; it was a girl.
No, it was Sling Blade. I just read the book.
In the movie, it's a girl.
Yeah.
Okay.
He rings the bell, and he asks the person at the desk, "Where's the bathroom?" He says, "Oh, it's in the corner of the lobby." He turns around in the lobby. There's 2 corners with 2 doors. So he runs to one corner, and he opens the door, and it's this little old Mexican lady with a mop bucket, and he like contemplates taking the dump in the mop bucket. But he's like, no. He's like, okay, I can run to the other side of the bathroom, and he runs.
It's crazy.
And he makes it to the bathroom, and he clogs one toilet and moves to the next and
What
finishes.
the hell's wrong with these people?
It's fucking crazy. Like,
How you clog toilets like this?
yo, I got no clue.
And he gets to the hotel. He gets to the mirror in the lobby bathroom, and he realizes that there's a brown streak all up his white shirt. So he's currently in just his underwear in this white shirt. So he throws his underwear away and takes his white shirt off. So he walks out into the hotel lobby just naked. And the little old Mexican lady's just sitting there about to start mopping. And he looks around, and there is just poop everywhere because it ran down his leg and was
Kicking it
up.
up.
Oh no! Disgusting, dysentery everywhere.
But like as the books progress, he gets more and more calm and collected. And one of the things he says, which kind of like you said, don't take it personally. It's if you can't take a joke, fuck them.
Yeah.
And that's kind of something that probably not. I'm not taking it the way that it sounds. I'm taking it as like that people are probably just joking. Now that's kind of the way those books. I listened to all 3 of them in the span of the past week, and they were all really, really good.
Yeah.
You can't let people take up mental real estate in your head.
Well, yeah, because people reside there for a while. You know what I'm saying? But the thing about as far as just books, man, this being the topic and everything, overall, the one thing I appreciate about this particular conversation is that we're seeing all the variety of different type of topics that still influence people, and reading is not dead.
And I didn't even
You know what I'm
touch
saying?
on all of them. This is just like a surface part.
Yeah.
I couldn't bring all of them.
Yeah, but it's just the idea that it's still something that people highly enjoy to do. When I was younger, I used to always wonder what people meant about the book is better than the movie, and I never got that until I finally read a book that was based on a movie or vice versa, whatever. And
Oh, you need to read The Shining.
well, I've read it in part, and it's definitely different,
'Cause I know I've been
especially
saying
like the lady. There's a lot of the woman in the room and stuff like that. There's a lot of things more explained about her and how she ends up there, and I did read a lot of that. Honestly, in that particular case, the movie The Shining is so cold that I'm sorry, Stephen King. I mean, Kubrick had a great vision for your shit. I know you didn't like it, but the rest of us, it's one of the greatest movies ever, and your ass need to bow down too.
It's 2 different mediums because, like, if you're reading a book, it's describing everything, but when you're watching a movie, you just see it and you take it for granted. You don't digest
you
it.
can get in a person's head in a book.
Right.
You know what they're
And in your own head, even like imagining what the characters look like.
Yeah.
Like certain characters that I imagined when they came out with the movie, I was like, oh, because I created a certain image in my mind for so long, and then the movie comes out and I'm like, oh, they made him
What?
yeah.
That's one of the
blonde. I
reasons-
pictured him as a brunette, or
That's one of the reasons I feel like a lot of people say that the books are better is because they build their own image of what's happening. For instance, I Hope They Serve Beer in Hell, they turned that into a movie, which the movie is based on all 3 books, and the first book titled the same is just that, and it's that book right there. it tells the story, and like you see, like, so that's him on the cover. That is him, and in the
Your
movie,
face here.
in the movie, it's just like that's not how I pictured him being, and that's not how I
Right.
pictured that happening, and
Right.
you know, it's very interesting.
I would like to talk about maybe like childhood books. I know I've read a lot of Dr. Seuss when I was a kid.
I didn't read a lot of books when I was a kid.
Word.
That story would be very short.
I was
I mean, you probably did, but
No.
I played outside a lot as a kid.
Yeah, we
I didn't spend a lot of
didn't
time
really-
indoors reading books.
I
And
started
maybe-
reading books when we moved to Mississippi more.
Yeah,
We
because I was an
didn't-
outside kid.
Yeah,
It was
it's like
concrete
stuck in the
jungle.
country.
I mean, it's funny. Like when I came here and like Cinderella. That you see how I was screwing all that up because I didn't grow up hearing that shit.
Right, yeah.
Nobody didn't tell me the Three Little Bears and the da 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 da. Mom and Dad didn't sit around telling them stories and shit. They were out hustling. If me and Shy wasn't curious or showing interest in it, it never entered into the home. Like I
Mickey
never wanted
Mouse
to.
or-
Yeah, the fucking Walt Disney shit and all that shit. I don't. If you ever come up to me and I mix up Snow White with Cinderella and there's another one too. There's like three of them that fell to the hell of a
Beauty.
Sleeping Beauty. Like literally in her name, they all fell the hell asleep. That's what the fuck I know, and you know what I mean. They all fell asleep. Well, no, Cinderella didn't fall asleep. She lost her
was-
damn shoe.
Yeah, she lost her
Yeah.
shoe.
Yeah, and then
She
everything
was
fell
like-
apart, and her real life got revealed. And
She was like a slave in her own house.
Yeah,
I felt sorry for Cinderella. I think I
Yeah.
do pity her. Snow White, I think, was already fucking asleep.
yeah.
Or no.
Snow White met
She
the
hooks up
little
the dwarfs. Come on now. She hanging
kinda
out with
funny.
7 little dwarf
It's kind of funny the
dudes.
stories when you look at them and like from an adult perspective.
and like
What the hell that woman hanging out with these 7 dwarves in the woods all by lonesome?
In Sleeping Beauty,
Talking to deers.
she's like knocked out, and it takes this guy to
just
kiss
some
her.
random dude
Some
kissing
random-
her.
Right.
Kiss
In the
her. In the woods.
Yep.
She had to find him. He's
That's
a-
a goddamn trap. That's a goddamn trap.
It's funny though, Bill, kind of like you're saying, if you take a look at the original Canterbury Tales of a lot of the like Goldilocks and Red Riding Hood especially, is if you read the original Red Riding Hood, she makes it to her grandmother's and finds the wolf in the bed. Then the wolf eats Little Red Riding Hood,
No shit.
kills her. Then the
Yeah.
lumberjack kills the wolf and like lives like, ha, I'm the macho man, but doesn't save Little Red Riding Hood.
But you can't tell that to a little kid though.
Yeah.
Like, when
And
I be
like the
oh.
3 bears, Goldilocks and the 3 bears, they find Goldilocks and they're like,
Rip her
no,
apart.
dead.
That's heartbreaking.
Oh my God! It's like, yeah, you don't want to tell no kid that shit, man. As it was, those stories had that edge to it that you had to be careful as you approach those stories.
Yeah.
You know, with the right wording and stuff like that. Because you think about the mind of a child and how they're picturing this stuff. You know what I'm saying? And you're talking about, there's this person in the bed. Oh, what big eyes you have. And in the child's mind, they're picturing these big eyes, the better to see you with. Oh, what big this and this. And then you finally get to the mouth, and what is it, the better to eat you with, And in the mind of a child, oh, what kind of creature is this? Kind of like, you're telling, so you got to be careful, a little 5-year-old age.
That kind of connects to what he was talking about, because I can speak on this a little bit, is our grandma got us into reading a lot of books as a kid. Like me and him, we had bunk beds at our grandma's house, and she'd read the 3 Billy Goats Gruff, where the grass was greener on the other side. And like, when you think about it, now they meet a troll and the grass is greener on the other side. Them Billy Goats probably getting killed.
Yo,
Yeah, wow, yeah.
my favorite book from a childhood is Dr. Seuss' Fox and Socks, and it's like the Weedle Waddle Wabble with a paddle, eat the battle in the jar with the beetle, and like that's how he's coming at it, right? Fox and Socks are no you boxer, like, and it's like I don't know, I appreciate that now, you know what I'm saying? Like, reading with my dad, like,
Yeah.
it definitely,
And like our grandma, she still has this bookshelf in her house. Man, I was just there. I could have took a picture of it.
Yeah.
But it's literally got all of the books she used to read us as a kid. Like, and it wasn't like, it wasn't your typical like childhood like Red Riding Hood stuff. It was like The Adventures of Sherlock Holmes, Mark Twain,
Huckleberry.
Moby Dick,
Yeah,
Huckleberry
shit like
Finn.
like chapter books.
Yeah. And then like kind of like you said in the World Record episode is the book fair at school. You get $10 from your dad, and books there were like $2. And I bought like 5 books and I'd read them all. my favorite from being a kid is Diary of a Wimpy Kid.
Fire books.
Those are great books. Still make them today, and I kind of want to read them all because they are great.
You know, and another thing too, I was just thinking when you guys are saying stuff like that, like Shy, you remember like sometimes Pop would talk about them old school like Brer Rabbit stories, you know, that they've now cataloged and you know, have published and stuff, you know, but they were just passed on stories, you know, from the old school black people and stuff from I think even going back maybe as far as slavery. But, you know, the Brer Rabbit was always kind of like out slicking the person and stuff like that, you know. Oh, please, whatever you do, don't throw me in the Brer Patch. And it's a Brer Rabbit, you know what I'm saying?
I should read that book too.
You know,
Oh,
yeah, but and there's a whole bunch of other like subsidiary Brer Rabbit stories, but it's one of those things. I was just kind of touching on that to just speak in terms of folklore. Like, you know, like when people find stories that were just told, like, you know, like Beowulf. Wasn't Beowulf one of those things where
Beowulf
it
was
was
just
just
told.
verbally told and someone finally, you know, sat down and documented it so it wouldn't get lost? They actually say that it has been maybe certain things about it, you know, someone embellished, but it's just like, okay, what are you going to do, man? I mean, you know, if it was just only passed down verbally, there's going to, you know, the creature or whatever that they describe. I think that you know, Grendel or whatever the hell, what was the name of that creature? At any rate, the creature that's in the
I
main.
saw the movie. I didn't read it. Maybe in school I read it. You know?
It holds up to how the real story was, you know, where it's just this creature that lives out and it comes down to terrorize every once in a while, but Beowulf comes and slays the creature
I'm
or whatever.
sure we had to read it for literature in school, but
And I read Lord of the Flies when I was in 9th grade. That was interesting.
what is that
Yeah, Lord of the Flies with these
That
kids
is a
crash on an island, and they're all a bunch of little kids. And the adults, the pilots died. I guess their chaperone, the adult chaperone died. All the kids lived,
Oh shit.
and they're on an island. So think about kids and their perspective of hierarchy is just essentially I'm tougher than you.
That's a
you
brave
know what
book,
I'm saying?
I like that.
And it
Oh,
really
it's
put
very good.
perspective about like the primal nature of not just kids but people.
People, right.
Because when the people did finally come and rescue them, the very pivotal scene at the end where they're all on the beach, just how primal the
And
kids
they
had
tried.
become. Like they became their old animalistic self, like straight survival mode.
yeah, it's like they tried to be civil, but the animal part just kept coming out, and the other group, it's like they started to split up. They weren't even together anymore, and the ones that were trying to be civil were being outnumbered.
And they were the
So-
ones that could have kept that more human element,
Yeah.
but the bullies, as it
And it
were,
just fell
they went to their deal.
That's the hotel story, by the way. I just turned to a random page. That's that.
Oh, okay.
It's funny that you mentioned the Brer Rabbit. I haven't heard that in so long, but like I don't think I would have ever remembered that unless you just said it right then.
Yeah, it was like a collection of stories with Brer Rabbit, different ones from what I understand.
Something I kind of want to say is that kind of to talk about the history aspect of books a little bit. It's going to be a kind of a not too deep into it, but you take into consideration Native American things. A lot of them were verbal until they were written down by the English settlers. And then to take it even further, the Bible stories were all verbal until they were eventually wrote down. And then to take that even further, when you first got the Bible, it was only in the hands of the priests. People didn't have a Bible until
And
so-and-so
didn't know how to
year.
interpret the languages in a lot of
Yep.
ways, so they had to embellish certain things they weren't able to translate.
Yeah,
And
they
then-
used imagery.
Yep.
Most people couldn't read. So,
Yeah.
the scarier you made things, the more you can influence too.
And then books didn't become a common thing in households until the printing press was invented.
Mm-hmm.
And
was that?
I don't know the exact year. I know the date. It was very
Well, to
early.
where it's at least it went beyond just the days of getting a loose end pamphlet handed to you in the woods.
Right,
You
shit
know,
like
hear ye, hear ye. You know what I'm saying? It's like,
It's not like your typical printer today. It was literally like they carved out into a piece of wood the words, put ink on it, and then slammed it down onto a piece of paper.
like real press,
Yep.
real printing press. And, you know, and even then, though, like, you know, there was only so many people that were buying books because of the literacy thing. And, you know, but the stories that were passed on to people and stuff, there were people that knew of stories that were written, but they were told the stories, like in the case of Little Red Riding Hood or something like that. I think that's the Brothers Grimm or some shit. And, a lot of the tales that I've known, like Shy, I remember one time I was talking with Jolene, I ain't gonna say what she was. I keep saying it over and over, and I'm just gonna say Jolene.
Right.
She loved those old stories. And she had a few of those Brothers Grimm stories and stuff, and the more realistic versions of what went down in those stories and stuff. But she was a fan of those kind of stories. And it was interesting, learning through her how, a lot of that stuff just really survived off of, kind of this cult following for the stories. Like, people become enamored by the stories in themselves, and that's how they survive. People constantly telling the stories to each other, not the books just simply sitting on a shelf and someone always checking it out of a library, but people always talking about these stories that make them want to run to get Beowulf or to get Lord of the Flies and so on and so on and so forth. Because, think about all the books that are in libraries. But they're libraries, but the specific books that people will get because of a certain type of energy about that topic, okay, for example, if someone goes to the library and they're curious about space stuff, but they've only known from a pop modern context, 9 times out of 10, or maybe 7 times out of 10, they'll probably check out a book by Neil deGrasse Tyson. Yeah. Because his name is the prominent now and this and that and the other, but there's a plethora of people you can find out about such things.
It's like jazz music, right? Like every time you play jazz, I'm playing Miles Davis, but there's a plethora of different jazz musicians. All kind of
people that know things about it and valid opinions. Bill Nye, the science guy, but that motherfucker really knows some shit. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Bill Nye knows some things. He actually hangs out with Neil deGrasse Tyson a lot. And but case in point being, as far as on the topic matter here, it's books have an infinite array of satisfaction to the human condition, be it to learn something about your fellow humans, learn about history, learn about art.
Make you use your imagination.
Make you use your mind, because it actually does create different pathways in the brain when you actually read. Yeah, I can't explain so much the neurological science behind it, but it creates different pathways, neurological pathways in the brain, allowing the brain to expand different avenues for information to be received.
Right, exactly.
So you can receive more information.
Right.
In essence, reading makes you smarter, people.
I do want to say this, because I don't want to repeat the movie episode, is we kind of got to talk about some of the classics. Oh man, I just lost the title.
Romeo and Juliet?
That was going to be one I was going to mention. But
William Shakespeare, you got to definitely just mention his name, just if you're talking about literature in general.
It's the story about the dude that has an alternate personality. Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde.
Oh,
that story.
Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, yes.
I've even heard of that.
What?
Yes, you have. The guy that is like the scientist.
And then the other guy is very evil.
But he drinks a potion that messed him up like that. What he was trying to do, I think, was tap into
That's
some
classic.
Inner strength that we have that that lies dormant. But it ends up bringing out the worst side of his nature when he would transform it into Mr. Hyde. Dr. Jekyll was the scientist. Mr. Hyde was his bad counterpart, as it were.
Like, you've heard Jekyll and Hyde.
I've never heard those names. I'm a very I guess I'm a boring person. I don't really like fiction. I never really read a lot of fiction.
Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde is very pop culture, though.
Yeah.
That's like the
It's
equivalent of
very
saying Frankenstein, honestly.
I've heard of it.
You better not tell me you ain't heard of Frankenstein.
Yeah,
I was going to literally slap the glasses out of your face. Like, boy, the fuck are you, a cave boy? You ain't heard of Frankenstein?
We used to have a mini Frankenstein in my grandma's house.
Dude, Frankenstein, Dracula, people like that, your ass is living under a rock if you ain't heard of them. But now, Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde, it goes further back. It's I'm kind of actually surprised you don't know that, but then they're not as popular. The Invisible Man or Mummy. I've never seen those movies, but I know they exist. I fucking hate the werewolf because I'm a Dracula guy and, I'm a vampire dude and fuck the werewolf. But that story's out there. And Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, it's been reinterpreted a few times. The original's in black and white. It's actually a great story about, the darkness of humanity.
Right.
and how like
everyone has that darkness in them.
yeah, everybody has that side of their nature, and what ultimately happens to him is he can't control it.
Yeah,
You know,
he
when
becomes a murderer.
he murders some the
He
lady.
murders some like old person. I don't remember who.
I
it
thought he
was.
murdered like his girlfriend or something. I can't remember.
How did y'all hear about this book? Like,
I had to read it in my 10th grade English class.
Dude, Dr.
It's been
Jekyll and
around
Mr.
since,
Hyde,
like,
yeah.
20s or the
Um,
early
I can't.
1900s.
I'd have to look it up. Who's the author of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde? I've actually never known that.
Then I do got to mention, I don't know if y'all have read it. The Watsons go to Birmingham about, it's about civil rights in Birmingham during the civil rights movement. I don't know if y'all know about the bombing at the church in Birmingham.
Oh, of course.
That
Of course. The four little girls,
yeah,
man.
they literally like they're the children of the house.
Oh my God! You just said something that just messed me up right now. At the drive-in where I'm working at, man, we're showing Selma, and we're showing. Oh, Shy! Guess what? I finally saw all the way through. Guess who's coming to dinner? I'll talk to you that in another.
You mean Sidney
Poitier.
Poitier?
It is good. Actually, it was a little misty-eyed. I have to admit. Yeah, it's really that good. Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde, written by. Oh, come on! What the. Creator Robert Louis Stevenson.
Oh,
Okay,
yeah, okay.
I didn't know that name.
But you can't. And the
But
big
oh yeah,
one-
you see the pictures there.
yeah, definitely.
See, that's Mr. Hyde. That's Dr.
But
Jekyll.
what year?
Damn. I literally had it up a moment ago.
Oh, it's okay.
I was a cheater in high school, so I,
The big two that I
Cliff
think
Notes,
most
Yes.
people have read
1886.
or at least heard of are To Kill a Mockingbird and
fantastic.
Fahrenheit 451.
I almost brought that book, To Kill a Mockingbird.
That's
It's one of my favorites.
one of my favorite books. I love that book.
What are the
so
books
much.
like by people like
H.G.
Potter.
Wells?
well, I was
George
going to go
Orwell.
back. Yeah, like, Edgar Allan Poe,
Yeah.
man. Fucking F. Scott
The
Fitzgerald.
The
Like,
Great
you know what I'm
Gatsby,
saying?
man.
Motherfucking, come on, the guy that killed himself, that shot himself, man. The big dude, man.
Oh, Ernest Hemingway.
Ernest Hemingway. Like,
There-
we're forgetting so many giants right now.
Hey,
It's kind of embarrassing.
so-
But
I've probably never read a book by any of those people you just named. I knew they are, but
these are the giants,
Right,
man. Like,
right.
we're talking about books, and we completely left all those names out.
And
Well,
then-
Shy mentioned some giants over here.
And then there's
but
like-
we're like, he's a giant, but in poetry.
The poets. Oh man.
Yeah, there's so many
So-
poets. William Shakespeare. That's why I threw William Shakespeare. I'm like, if we leave out of this episode talking about books and we didn't mention Shakespeare
let-
once,
Right.
We got
literature people are going to eat our ass up out there.
But let's do an episode 2, and I can actually bring a textbook that has some of the history of some like old school.
I'm telling you, y'all are I'm going to be the quiet one for once in these episodes. If y'all notice, I didn't speak a lot in this episode because y'all have read a lot more books than me. I read certain books that I like. I'm not one of those guys that's going to pretend like I got a library of shit that I
I
read
would
because I
love to do
haven't.
an episode 2 to this.
But
we
I'm
do gotta end
down.
This.
I'm sure you're down, Shy. Shy,
love
Shy, you've
reading.
been reading for a long time. I remember like back when we were kids, you used to be having these little books. You remember like you and Sheila? Sheila used to have them books. Brian's sister, we used to make fun of her looking back now because she always had a book she would be reading when we all be walking to school together. And she have her little skinny self reading up in some little book and shit. And this girl was like in
always reading.
7th grade and stuff,
Yeah.
I've started listening to audiobooks instead of music at work just because a lot of them, I when I listen to stuff, I like podcasts and stuff like that. It's like I'm listening to this one book. It's called Mate, and it's a very interesting book. It's a psychologist and this guy Tucker Max who co-wrote the book, and they're both reading the book, and it's very interesting to hear their topics of ideas. and
I have
stuff.
to say, I'm one of those people when I think about like certain black literary giants like James Baldwin, who is I guess more of a great orator, but I think he wrote some stuff.
Zora Neale Hurston.
Zora Neale Hurston and stuff. Who wrote what's his name? Richard wrote Black Like Me. Richard Wright.
Ralph Ellison.
Or is it Ralph Ellison rather? Ralph Ellison. Richard Wright wrote something too. I believe he's another black
come
author.
on. Maya Angelou.
Maya Angelou. Now I know I'm kind of on the black spectrum here right now, but I'm just like there's so many names of people that have done things in literature that I haven't read actually, that I've been knowing their names for years. So like when you were saying about the Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde, I can't even really quote Baldwin.
Right.
And Baldwin's heavy. Like, I know of some of his stuff. I've seen some of his speeches and stuff like this. I haven't seen the famous where he beat William F. Buckley in one of the great debates or whatever, some shit. But because Buckley was like a great debater and he defeated him.
Right.
And but like, if someone said, all right, quote James Baldwin right now, I'd be like,
Right.
I know of him, but I admit my limitations to what I have actually read and what I just know of. Like I can't actually quote, some Langston Hughes and stuff like that, but I mean, you see, it's a lot of shit here. There's some stuff that you may pull up on me that's probably in here, and I probably didn't come across it and stuff yet or whatever. And that's why, continuing the interest in reading, you have to always, beyond just like, it's kind of ironic that we all, as it were, read online with the internet,
Right.
but that's not
No.
reading.
Exactly.
You're getting that immediate reaction of
Literally
things and
being able
factoids
to
and
go,
note.
hear this sound right here.
Yeah.
That sound is just
And taking in the page.
And the way it smells.
Feeling it, yeah.
everything about reading. Just it's a
Oh.
great thing. We recommend you read a book.
It's boring as fuck sometimes. Keep it G though. Sometimes you gotta sit down and force yourself to read. Me personally.
But see, if you're forcing yourself to read, you're not doing it right.
And it's probably not
Yeah.
a good book to you.
And,
but it's more just like laziness on my part. Like it's information that I wanna.
consider this, right? If you're bored going into it, it's not the book's fault.
It's your
Right,
fault.
it's my fault exactly. And so that's why when I
And you have to reconcile with yourself, because the reason why I say it like that is because I thought the same thing when I was younger. Like, man, fuck sitting around, man. I have to sit here and, balloon this thing up in my mind. It's just like, yeah, motherfucker, that's the beauty of it.
Yeah,
You know what I'm
right.
saying? But at the time, I didn't really see that. You know what I mean? It was just like, I watched the movie after the movie.
Right.
Such a fucking pop culture flex.
Oh,
yeah.
It's a
oh.
pop culture flex,
I have
man,
to
you know?
mention this since we're talking about black artists. The Color Purple. I read that.
Yeah.
I've seen the movie.
That was a really good book because it was silly in her voice, but it was her diary, and she was talking to God. So
And we got to mention the author's name with that, Alice Walker.
Alice Walker.
You know what I'm saying? And I think maybe she got an award for that. Maybe, I don't know. I think I mentioned earlier Toni Morrison.
Toni
You know what I'm saying? If I didn't, there you go.
Big Mama's Juke. It's a play.
I thought you were about to say Big Mama's Juke Joint. I'm like, are you serious? That's has a
The
private
Queen of the
meeting with
Blues.
us.
The Queen of the Blues. He's a playwright. Just passed away. Black guy. I can't remember his name off the top of my head. Let me look it up. Y'all can.
Once you say that, we do got to bring this episode to an end. I guess while you're saying that, I'll go ahead and do the socials. It's OSHA11, Bill_Perry, Scooby the Kid 252, Chef Mac 1523. All of those are our Twitters, I believe. But you can go.
Actually, mine is Instagram.
Oh, yeah, Instagram. But you can go find all of our social medias down in the description, along with, because he doesn't say this ever, along with 2 essays that I wrote. One's a recipe list and one's an essay that I recommend you read, because we're talking about reading.
Ooh, recipes.
You have Shy's poster or website poster link in the description. You have Bill, they found me .godaddy, right?
Yep, that's right.
.com, to buy a flash drive of They Found Me Vengeance.
Yeah, that's
and
right.
Scooby the Kid, all of his music stuff is also down in the description, as well as my Twitch and all my other socials.
August Wilson is his name, and he actually did.
Oh, Fences, Billy. August Wilson.
Oh.
That book that mom. Yeah.
So he took every era of from 1900 to 1990 and made a play about what Black life was like, and it's pretty good.
Oh yeah, my mom loves this story. They turned it into a movie that Denzel Washington is in. It's called Fences, and it's about a ex Negro League baseball player
Word.
that never made it, and he was very bitter.
And his boy was actually coming up and had promise, and
Yeah.
had that bitterness, but compounded with that old school shit and da da da. But it's great. It's a great
Yeah,
story.
it's really,
Right.
really a great story.
He was a talented guy. I think he just recently passed away. Great Netflix documentary about him.
You say that it's maybe, but that's actually a musical project and everything. Blood on the Fields by Wynton Marsalis. But that, anyway, that's kind of a whole other topic in itself. With it, you're talking about breaking down eras. It's the only jazz, or the first, maybe there's been other jazz. It's the first jazz composition to win a Pulitzer. And what it does is it details from the slave ship all the way up to modern times, but he does it through a musical event.
That's dope.
And it's like a 4-disc deal or something, 4 or 5 disc, and I've lost a couple, but I got a couple if you ever want to listen to it.
I would love to do that.
It's an emotional ride for me when I listen to it because I know what the album's about. It's kind of like the equivalent of watching Roots. And like, okay, I gotta, you know what I'm saying? I gotta get ready. Like, that's actually how I was watching Selma. One last thing I'll say, so Matt can go ahead and get ready to call this. Y'all was talking about the Alabama incident. I hope I'm not, spoiler alert for those who hasn't seen Selma. I'm gonna say that in advance.
I haven't.
Okay, but this scene is not something you would want to rush to see. It's a sad scene. The Alabama bombing of the 4 girls. Oh my God, they set it up like this. And you can't tell it's about to happen because there's all this Martin Luther King stuff. He's actually about to get the Nobel Peace Prize and stuff like that in the beginning of the movie. And then it shifts and it's showing these kids walking down the steps just having a good time talking about shit. You don't even know what they're coming down out of. And then it was like a group of girls and the other girls kept going down and they were talking about Coretta Scott King's hairstyle.
Oh.
And then the rest of the girls started going down there, and they were like, well, I'm trying to figure out if that's her hair, if it's natural, because she parts it down the middle. I'm trying to figure out if she's permanent. And as she's talking, now, mind you, that's Hollywood embellishment. There's no possible way to know what they were talking about in that instance, because they died.
But that was beautiful.
But, playing it in that way and considering the atmosphere, young girls were talking about how beautiful Coretta Scott King was and stuff like that.
Right.
And it was just a regular thing. But the way they did it, like y'all will probably just imagine like an explosion. No, they did it in this, it's going to sound ugly, but in this artsy way where it was it was a loud boom, but then there was these swirls. And I think eventually you see two legs of one of the girls that kind of swirls like that. They did it in a way because it's like you don't want to see how it really was. Like, we ask Hollywood to give us realism, but it's like, I don't need to see blown up kids. You don't have to fucking be that real. And they understood that and didn't do that, you know what I'm saying? But when that happens and it's so early in the movie, because I was working at the drive-in, I was going to leave. But when that happened, I was like, oh man. And it really told some truths. I was kind of surprised. But anyway, like, look at me now. I'm kind of going into that. We were about to end this show.
Maybe with the books one, we can go into like writers of movies, and we can speak on that a little bit as well.
Yeah. I mean,
or maybe we could do movies part 4, and we talk about writers of movies.
And people's responses, like I said earlier, Stephen King didn't like Stanley Kubrick's version of The Shining, and
I had to say one more. He also didn't like what's that movie? Stand By Me. What? And the reason why he didn't like Stand By Me because in his book.
Wait, Stephen King wrote Stand By Me?
Yeah, he wrote it as Richard Bachman though.
Okay.
Yeah.
That was a good movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, the reason why he didn't like it is because River Phoenix in his book, his character was the one that actually shot him, but in the movie it was that other little boy. He said it made him so upset that he got up and walked out, but the reason why it made him upset was because he didn't think about it first. He was like, why didn't I have that? And so he got really upset and left. So sometimes they might get upset because it's better.
Keep it real. He made your shit better.
You can take it.
I have to say, just I guess on the final note for myself here, like, say They Found Me Vengeance, right? I've created this little world and this story. And I have to admit, if a motherfucker wrote some shit and it was really like, oh my God, and advanced my story, I'd be mad too. Like, shit, man. Like, yeah, I'm glad you did that, but how the hell did I not see that so clearly before me? And now, but I can understand that from a creative place, or even more so close, say, in terms of like with the music stuff. Imagine you write a song, right? And it, for whatever, it does something or doesn't do something. But in the future, say, right, 10 years down the line, some young up and coming redoes your song.
Oh, Billy.
But better.
Okay, the perfect example, just really quick. Tammy Wynette, "Stand by Your Man."
Who originally did it?
Tammy Wynette.
Okay. I thought you were saying like she
And
redid it from
a
someone
black
else.
woman redid it, and the song became a hit.
Well, even more that we know of the modern time. I
Whitney
mean,
Houston.
yeah,
Yeah.
I Will Always Love You. That was Dolly Parton's joint.
No
You
shit.
know what I'm saying? Yeah, that was a Dolly Parton song,
I
man.
fucking love that song. Like,
And but Whitney Houston, I mean, come
The
on,
GOAT, yeah.
Whitney Houston, dude.
Yeah, because it's like, that's Whitney.
You know what I'm saying? And I'm sure even Dolly's like that. Like, it's Whitney, y'all. Like, you know what I'm saying? But at any rate, all right, y'all, I guess this has been a lovely episode. This has been Bridging the Gap. Damn, I was about to go BTG The Gap.
Oh.
Again.
What kind of books you read,
Yeah.
Abigail?
I
Another
read
juice?
stuff about poultry and
I like chicken books.
You know, I like Chicken Little. That's what I like. I like books about Chicken Little and the sky's falling because it is, and I hope it's falling your ass.
and no,
Well, why me? I mean, what's up?
she told me earlier. I asked her. I was like, me and her, who was kicking it, me and Abigail, right? And I was like, why'd you cross the road? She wouldn't tell me. So we beefing right now.
Dude, look what she's doing to you right now, dude.
I know we beefing.
Why? What you doing? I'm mooning them. All right, girl, get out of here. Like,
Hey, see-
she got issues right now, man. I see what you're saying, man.
She,
Talk to Abigail.
you know-
see how she just put her ass in his
Right.
face and stuff?
I just want to know.
She's got a big enough hole that she could be the mother of Humpty Dumpty.
Now, don't let me get on you, Mac. You're actually the one I like. And that. Okay, chill. What about my sis? She never do that. I love Shy. Shy's the best one, the best thing that happened to this show. Oh,
I love you
shit.
too, Abby.
Abigail is
Abby.
feeling some type of way, but we have to admit now, we've been ignoring the poor girl and stuff. We won't be ignoring you. But look, you got to participate too, all right? All right. Oh, she kissed me. Goddamn stupid ass chicken. All right. Bridging the Gap with Bill, Shy, Scooby, and Mac. And this has been about books/literature and this and that and the other. We hope you've enjoyed this. If you have some books that maybe we skipped or you just like to throw out there in the ether, put it in our comments section. And if you really like this episode, maybe we'll do a follow-up.
15 likes for part 2.
15 likes.
You tuned in and tapped in, baby.
Indeed.
What's up, Bridging the Gap people? It is your boy, Chef Mac 1523, back at it again at the end of the episode, like I always am. I want to go ahead and thank you for making it this far. We really enjoyed recording this episode. It was a very fun one. Make sure y'all are reading books. You know, I've got, well, they're in my backpack actually, which is right over there. But, I mean, as you can see, come on. This is all staying in. I have all these books over here that I enjoy to read. And so yeah, I got Iron Man in the background. Don't judge me. I want to go ahead and, you know, plug everything. Everything is in the description that you can find. Since we talked about books, go read my essay, The Microwave That Is Life. It is in the description. It's a very, very, very interesting paper. And I can always write more if you guys want to know more things that are like that paper is. I will write more. There's also my recipes, 2 of them down below. It is a spaghetti, which you saw us make on the podcast, and a margarita chicken. Shy, all her stuff is down below. Go buy a poster from her. Scooby the Kid, all of his stuff is down below. Go check out his stuff. Bill, all his stuff is down below. They Found Me Vengeance. Flash drives are out now. And then starting Monday, February 1st, every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, I will stream from 8 o'clock until I don't know when, but from 8 o'clock to a little while. Fridays will be shorter because I have to work on Saturdays. And Wednesdays will be not short, but Wednesdays have the potential to start early. So there's that. Mondays will probably be the longest stream. And if you miss it, that stream will be up on my YouTube channel, link in the description. So is my Twitch, link in the description. And starting sometime in February, I'm not quite sure, I'm going to start a new series on the Chef Mac 1523 YouTube channel called Cooking Like a College Student. And that is basically going to be cooking on a budget I'm gonna make you some bomb ass ramen noodles, some ramen grilled cheese, some stuff to basically spice up your cooking a little bit and help you do it without spending $100. You know, we could spend 20 and make a really good meal. So that's my plan, starting sometime in February. Peace out. It's been 3 minutes. I gotta talk to you for a little bit, read a book, read my essay. Peace out. Oh, March 15th, declassified.